Thank you so much for being here. What an honor I have to share a little bit with you who Bob was to me. We are all here to celebrate a gem of a man and the ways that he's impacted each of us. And I am honored to share a little bit about how I've been impacted by Bob Brents. And I just want to say I can't do this without also sharing the impact that Kathy Brents has had on me. So tonight I'm here to honor them both and share a little bit about how they have changed the course of my life. So I'm here to honor both of them, a wonderful couple whose elaborate generosity and steady support forever changed me. Over 20 years ago, Bob and Kathy Brents offered their home to host two young 18-year-old girls for a 9-month-long training program, Christian training program called Master's Commission. I was one of those girls. I can't imagine what they were thinking or what they expected, but I assure you that year they got more than they bargained for. We were young, naive, clumsy, and undisciplined. They graciously welcomed us, seriously spoiled us. Side note, Bob was the general manager of Aristocrat during that time, so they were spoiling us for sure. Gently reprimanded us when needed, and humorously managed our many disasters. Picture a whiteout pen exploding all over Kathy's beautiful, ornate 4-post bed, or a massive Pepto-Bismol spill across her carpet, or a beautifully hand-sewn pillow sham destroyed by being washed and dried with regular laundry. And that's just to name a few. Needless to say, we were a mess. So imagine my sheer surprise when at the end of the 9 months, Bob and Kathy offered for me to stay and live with them for another 2 years. Not only that, but they told me that they wanted to pay for me to go to junior college and that they wanted to buy me a car to drive. Wasn't too bad of an offer, and so I humbly accepted. During my time in the Master's Commission program, I'd been encouraged to become a lifelong learner. Shout out to Lloyd and Brenda Rindles. And although I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, looking back, I can see how Bob and Kathy's generosity and belief in me really helped launch me into adulthood with that goal in mind. So with my paid-for associate's degree, I decided to keep going. I got my bachelor's degree and eventually ended up with a master's degree. While I do believe that higher education is important, I cannot tell you how the life experiences with Bob and Kathy and the continued friendship has so superseded that. Today I want to share just 3 things with you. A lesson that I've learned because of the life and my time with Bob and Kathy Brents. A lesson I am learning because of my relationship with them over the years. And a lesson I hope to learn by their example of faithful generosity. So one lesson that I've definitely learned because of my time with Bob and Kathy is to appreciate diversity and adapt to unfamiliar settings and circumstances. You see, as a young girl who grew up in the inner city of Kansas City, in a low-income family, who normally fell asleep to the sounds of mariachi music, sirens, and gunshots, moving into a beautiful home in Lenexa with Bob and Kathy was like moving to a different country. Beautiful people, beautiful cars, beautiful homes, beautiful scenery. Was a bit of a culture shock. I didn't belong, but you know what? They somehow showed me that I belonged. My time with them was one of the formative experiences that led me to brave the unknown, including studying abroad in Mexico, teaching in China for 2 years, and yes, even marrying a Samoan man. My 3 years living with Bob and Kathy taught me a huge lesson on how to be myself in new surroundings, how to interact with people in different social statuses, and how to embrace the beauty of diversity. Now, mainly because of my relationship with Bob and Kathy and the experiences I had while with them, I am learning how to be content in plenty and in want. I remember how elated I was at the age of 18 to experience living in a house with central air conditioning for the first time. A far cry from the hot humid nights growing up with just a fan in the window. And yeah, that car that Bob bought me, it was a 1987 baby Benz, 190. Such a far cry from my family's childhood van that you could hear coming from a mile away. I experienced my first Chiefs game with Bob, who of course had VIP passes. Hello. I didn't even know a VIP 10 existed. And the Kansas City Symphony. I sure wouldn't fall asleep if I had the opportunity to experience that again. Plaza 3 dinners aren't my norm these days. But back then, whew. These are just some of the contrasting experiences that Bob and Kathy provided that continue to remind me that life is full of highs and lows, and that the goal is to be in content and value life, whether in a season of plenty or in want. I'm still learning this lesson as the ebbs and flows of life and resources vary, but man, I'm so grateful for the ways I'm learning it. The thing that I still hope to learn, and that's taken me a little bit longer, through Bob and Kathy's example, is how to be hospitable, to give generously, and to invest in the lives and needs of others. Over the years, Bob and Kathy lavished me with their generosity and their support in so many different ways. Paying for an associate's degree and that wonderful baby Benz they let me drive, which I'm sure meant that Jimmy Schmidt was on Bob's speed dial. If you know Jimmy, I don't know, is he here? But financial support to the different ministries I've been a part of, and even their generosity in giving us wedding gifts that were far beyond even a thought of being placed on my wedding registry. Through their love, through their encouragement, through their support, and through their hospitality and generosity, they have impacted my life. And the truth is, everyone's life needs to be impacted. And the truth is, everyone's life can be impactful. So, as I was thinking about Bob, and thinking about, I'm sure, all the stories that you guys are going to share as we have some time are going to be amazing, but I was thinking about what have I learned from him? And these are the things that I wanted to share with you. I miss Bob. I miss his laugh. I miss his humor. I miss being able to call him and ask him, I need help with my car. And I'm thankful for him. And you know, it's funny, Jason, what you shared about not having regrets. The reality is I moved back to Kansas City about a year before Bob passed. And I was getting settled in, my husband and I, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have to have Bob and Kathy over. I want them to see my home. I want them to be proud. And that didn't happen. And so there's a small bit of grief that didn't happen. But man, I know that he loved me and that I am who I am today because of the ways that he and Kathy invested in me. So, thank you.